Hi, my name is Hilda Zilka, and I'm the author of Blue Mountain Mist. I am doing another insert today. Today, we want to use this analogy for the future. We have 100% a management issue now. In 2008, I requested permission from securities to do this major project. I also knew in my heart it would be very, very large. So prior to that, I went into the police office and I said to them, I'm starting something. Please keep an eye on me. I think it's very, very high profile. This was over a decade pre-Canada's artificial C3 cluster. It reminded me of the time when I worked for the airlines, and I've been fortunate enough to work for two sets of airlines, Canada 3000 and Air Canada. And when I worked for these guys, I was working. I didn't get a chance to travel, but usually sometimes you got a day trip out of it. In that particular day trip, I went into the water and I saw this really adorable parrot fish. Now it's usually more turquoise blue, but I just picked this one. It kind of looked different for me back then, but this is what is the first photo that came up, so I'm using it. And what happened was I ran back out of the water because I saw this big blue fish, and I gave it a little piece of cracker, and then within no lie, about a minute and a half after getting that one piece of cracker, there was about 100 blue parrot fishes around me. What a swarming. That is exactly what happened in the era of Canada's history. Today we have a lot of individuals now that look American in Canada, but they're not the only ones. We have Russians, we have Chinese, we have a lot of other people who are non-Canadians. And the reason this is happening is the cracker theory. You throw one cracker and they all came running. That means, historically they come from poverty, or they have some psychological issues, or they've been abused. Their country abuses them in the name of money, because they put values on money to the point that they have to bring in militia, injure Canadians, change demographics, do whatever they want without even blinking, calling Canadians stupid because Canada, flipped it overseas, but it didn't go into the right hands. And this is why Hanna's pulling it away from the parrot fishes, so to speak, analogy. She's actually pulling it away from them. Now, how is she doing that? First of all, her webpage, othava.com, has completely stopped. If you notice, the colors might change or picture, or they may use old stuff, but it's not the authentic story, which we are technically on episode 103 after about how many years of posting the chronicles of events that were going on. What else is interesting about this story? They feel they're above law. Now, why is that happening? Because historically, these communities follow the military, and when they follow the military, they just take and pillage whatever they feel like, protecting their position. Now, what ended up happening is Hanna's anthropology journal sort of fucked them up the assholes, because it illustrated interconnectivity, meaning I'm automatically linked to the Orthodox Jews, I'm automatically linked to Muslims, I'm automatically linked to even the Negroes. Like, the photos were so mind-boggling. So they arbitrarily this time contracted out the Greeks, but they were not the Greeks. They changed places, and it's very high-end, militarized. They doubled, they made certain people darker, certain people lighter. It is to not fuck up Hanna, but to protect their position, because what they're trying to do is every country is trying to protect their position. It's that ugly, but it's the concept of throwing a cracker and getting a swarm of what Hanna feels a form of apes to not do another industry or help you build. They're just trying to steal. And it's so funny because if you watch these guys in action, and that is what Hanna's chronicling right now, they don't even know what they're stealing. They're just assuming certain things like we can do it ourselves or we can't be dependent. But sometimes it goes back to the concept of someone wrote a Harry Potter book, she's doing the sequel, and you're trying to continue the sequel. It doesn't come out the same as the authentic version. So it's been a standoff. Today is 4,489 days of back and forth. And like what ended up happening yesterday, they are in individuals' bank accounts because they're trying to say it's crusades and it's this and that. And they're looking almost like developmentally challenged. And I'm not kidding, because they are a form of primate socially. They may be in human form, but their brains have not caught up to even their own technologies that they're generating. So they stand by the door, and Hanna stands by the door, and they know it's a house of God. They don't bother her, but she knows they're there. It's almost like they have nothing better to do. Now, there's another theory. They might just be all excited, but you would think if someone's excited, they would be treating Hanna like a friggin' queen, in the sense that be giving her the required tools to continue production. But when you throw a cracker and there's a piece of lollipop and that individual gets doubled and there's 10 or 15 or 60 of them and they're all blowing all these men, it becomes a challenge on a single female. So this is where we are today. It's another insert. How frustrating it is. But she has to study this group of individuals, because if it's low IQ, we have to get them educated. If it's a game, we have to make them switch role plays to understand the lower end of it. So actually maybe take someone very, very wealthy and stick them in a poorer position. But someone's already designed that, but have they really? They're vacationing and they've contracted out the poorer people again. So they're not really doing anything. They're just on vacation pretending to be doing something. What else can we do? We could actually let the person who asked permission for in 2008 finish her job without interference. If that doesn't work, which it hasn't, what else can we do? Well, we can lobby countries to state that if Canada becomes rogue, we have to go by the guidelines of international law now, where communities pull together to handle the faith of Canada if we can't get the act correct. And right now, today, all the lawyers have been given quasi-documents indicating, in time of combat, Hanna has taken over. Hanna and production has taken over. There is a problem. Again, it's foreign interference. It's these, what Hanna calls a form of sand parasites from the United States in Canada. And Hanna loves the Americans, but it gets to the point where, again, is it low IQ? Is it not knowing what you're doing? It's just because you're trained on theft, but here is a professional and you don't know how to act? Is it because you're a prisoner? Is it because you're a child benefiting your own countries? You're not thinking about the betterment of another world, which is Canada. Or there's something scarier. You have actually infiltrated the United States military now, again, with a handful of women or transgenders that are blowing the socks out of you through a form of opiates or whatever the case may be. But here's some counsel for you. Instead of interfering like this in the bank account, in this, in that, trying to bypass Secret Service, instead of interfering like this, I think, you know, if you were educated now, if you had a tinge of intelligence in you, you would try to work with this person. You might make a killing, but you're so busy on not being native, looking out just for a piece of land somewhere out in Asia or wherever. You're so stuck on a piece of land that you're actually really not native. You're a wannabe at this particular time. You're not looking out for the betterment of humanity. Whatever your challenges are, you have to understand at this particular time, you know, I'm not budging at all, and that will be the end of it. I will just simply die. But if I die and the one in front of me dies, followed with they die, do you want to live in a world where it's just you? Remember, no flavors, no spices, no nothing. Just go into the fridge, take a piece of meat out and eat it. Do you want to live in a world like that? Because your psychology thinks you can rebuild this. You can't rebuild things that you don't know of. And even though a lot of my notes are very explicit, they are self-generating. So Hannah's trying to understand what your issue is or what your problems are. You clearly have psychological problems because you're too parasitic and you're not business people. You're too busy stealing, or maybe you just don't know. If you don't know, again, if I die, it's not a big deal because they're also going to die. And the ones in front of me are going to die. So you're going to be left alone. So I'm trying to understand your objective. But you could just be very abused. Medical doctors, that I'm not 100% sure. But you are A, in breach of law. B, you are now touching on war crimes in Canada. And C, we have very, very strict rules and regulations. It's not Toyland with your blowjobs or whatever problems you have in Canada. So as you sit there with nothing better to do, watching me quietly build something, I think you should just, you know, either come to my door and be a man instead of a little boy. Come to my door and, you know, or move out of my way, because you are completely wasting an illumination's time. You are completely wasting an illumination's time, because I'm not producing the Sun collection. It'll just go in the garbage and you're not going to be able to find it. And you can just make up some stories and some linguistics and all of that. But Hanna can employ the whole earth without harming one person, without polluting one person, one land. If you can get to my speed, I would recommend paying me. But if you don't want to do that, and you feel you can employ the world, then you can continue on with your lollipops and bells and Julianas and blowjobs, whatever other dilemmas you have. But I can assure you there's a lot of pussy out there that would maybe use you, that's dying for a piece of dingling. You know, and yes, we do need our transgenders 100%, and yes, we do need our gay men, but I don't think you are looking at it from a bird's angle. I think you're looking at it like a child. So that is where we are today. Thank you and have a good day.